Hey everyone, welcome to the Yissilmissil Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissil, and today we have a special guest here to interview. He's a very prominent person in the cryptid community, I feel. He's doing streams every night. He has evidence that he shows every night. His name is Abe Sias. He's from Temple, Texas, and he covers a lot of interesting cryptid and paranormal and spiritual topics, including duendes, sprites, and lycanthropes. And he's also a U.S. veteran, which I will let him go elaborate further on that. But he's seen a lot of stuff in his life, and it's an honor to have him here on the show. And we will bring him in now. So hey, how you doing, Abe? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. You know how it is getting these shows together.
Oh, yeah.
Although
Sometimes there's a saying in the military, you just got to go with the flow. Just go with it. Sometimes when you go with it, it's even better because when you prepare a lot of things, it makes it a little bit more complicated.
yeah,
But
I started with just doing a just a two screen type of deal, and I know you were sharing before we went live that you started doing a lot of videos just on the phone and doing a like a dual two person stream, and you were getting thousands of views that way. So that's really impressive. But yeah, it's a tough life here in the YouTube community, but we're still here getting the stuff out, and this will be also re-uploaded later in the week. But today we're here live, and we're gonna go over what Abe does and a little bit of his background and what what his YouTube channel is all about and what he likes to do in his spare time with all that. So I'll let you take the floor if you want to start with a short background on your experience, and then we'll get into the other cryptid topics here. But you have the floor.
yes, yes. My name is Abe Sias. I was born in Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley. I've been doing spiritual works ever since I was a kid, actually, because of incident happening. It opened me up to the spiritual side of things, dealing with something that happened to my brother, which I had to go to Mexico for him to be healed by a medicine woman. And, we were poor, and the deal was that if she healed him, that I would have to stay with her for a couple of, I don't know, months. I don't remember because I was a kid, but I was there with her, and that's when it all started for me when I was a child. When I came back to the States, it's like what was opened over there, what I would view, I would view it everywhere. Like on people, it could be a complete stranger. When we talk about negative attachment, unclean spirits, demons, I could see it in the people that had negative attachments on them. I would try to tell my mother, but she would like, she didn't understand what I was viewing. So it didn't matter where it would go, whether it was out in public, at the store, or at the school. I would always see this, people would call them shadow figures, where it's an unclean spirit because it's in disembodied form. And I would see them enter people. So when they enter the people, which is like a possession of sort, because it's there momentarily, and you can see how he's got control of the body, and it's the people are acting different. They're not acting like themselves. So I know it's an unclean spirit in the person that's controlling them. So it happened to one of my friends when I was in kindergarten. He had taken over his body, and he was acting weird, strange, and I told the unclean spirit to leave him alone, and then it left him. When he left him, my friend became normal.
Wow.
There's just a little bit, that I've been battling these things, and it's not just things of the spirit, but also people that dabble in those things. In Spanish we call them brujas and brujos, witches and warlocks. You know, Some people might call them cults, Satanists. I witnessed a lot of this wicked people, which some of them would try to come to me, offering me things to try to put a hex on me and stuff like that, and which I knew better because the medicine woman told me exactly what was going to happen, so to be prepared for these things. So she kind of trained me to what to look out for. Right. I remember telling my brother, I told him a story where I was in line at the kindergarten. Or in pre-K, I'm standing in line waiting to go to the cafeteria, and there's this lady that's pacing back and forth out the main gate of the school. When they start moving the light forward, this lady comes in the line and walks on the sidewalk and comes right in front of me, and she's trying to offer me a candy, offer me an apple, bananas, because she would try to attempt almost every day that I went to school. She attempted every day early in the morning to try to give me something, but I never took it, and she would get mad. She had a smile on her face, but I was already trained not to take things because it could do wrongs to it. Uh, so as I was telling my brother about this, he's like, he would just put his head down like this. I said, brother, I failed then because that same lady came to me, and I think that's why I got sick because of her. But because my brother was 2 years older than me, so I was telling him about the lady. I guess he was listening to the podcast, the Spiritual Encrypted Encounters, and he remembered that the lady came to him, offered him a banana. He ate the banana. Everything she offered to him, he ate. Candy. She had a little dog, and he petted the dog. Well, then my brother became sick. Where she successfully placed a hex on him. And that's why we had to go seek help elsewhere than the United States because doctors in the U.S. What was happening to him? He had high fevers, and he was hallucinating, seeing spiders and snakes. And the doctors from the U.S. couldn't know what was the matter with him. So yeah, it took that medicine woman from Reynosa, Tamaulipas, which is in Mexico, to heal him, to get rid of the wrongdoing that was done to him. I know it's a lot to observe, especially if you haven't witnessed it, but those things do exist. I witnessed it since throughout my childhood, and I still witness things like that till this day. It's just about the spiritual battle, spiritual warfare.
Yeah. And it's something we haven't covered yet on this channel. So I'm glad that we're doing this today by having you on. And because I've really been focused more on the film industry side of things, but as of like the past few months, I've been getting into a lot of like the energy grid of the earth and uh, just old civilizations, architecture, and haven't really touched the cryptid and paranormal stuff quite yet.
Yeah.
Although I've had experiences and I've gone seeking out these things too in the past very foolishly. So I say foolishly because I was actually sometimes I was getting really upset that I wasn't experiencing anything. So I would like almost try to taunt these spirits to interact with me. Like it wasn't too smart what I was doing. So that was around the time I stopped, was when I wasn't getting any feedback. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to leave this alone instead of possibly bringing something back home with me. And like I've done paranormal investigations in cemeteries. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is one near Midlothian, Illinois. And I've done ghost tours in Denver, Colorado. I had an experience there. I think I shared on your show before. And again, one more time for everybody watching, if you want to find Abe's channel, it's called Spiritual Encrypted Encounters on YouTube. Just search that up. It's about 3,000 subscriber channel, just so you guys know what to look for when you're searching. But I also have the link to your channel in the description of the video. So if people need to find it that way, if that's easier, just click the link below and you guys can see everything that Abe's up to. But yeah, this is a brand new topic on this channel here because I've been very like formulaic with how I release things. But
Yes.
I think this is a really good way to get my feet wet, so to speak, and
I
start
believe
opening up.
it's all connected, brother. It's all connected. You know, like the grids, magnetic poles, uh, limestone elevations. It's all connected to. It's all related. You know, it's just dealing with the energies that are there. If there's energies and there's things that are able to manifest. You know, like Bermuda Triangle is one of them, where the magnetic pole is there in the ocean. Just people can't see it because it's in the ocean, but and that's why a lot of strange things happen there. You know, where I come from, we're close to the ocean, so uh, there's a lot of activity where our town is built on because it's built on limestone. So the limestone is a energy conductor in which you get a lot of paranormal activity. You know, so that's why you know you got you in those locations you have the people that are practicing certain things because they feel some energy, they feel some power, and so okay, we're going to use this energy, this power that's here to do our thing. But you know, it's what they're feeling is the limestone, in which there could be all kinds of side effects. People seeing things because they're manifesting or in the form of spirits and stuff like that, orbs, UFO activity. As far as there's been a lot of UFO activity down in the Rio Grande Valley, paranormal sightings of chupacabras, uh, the the pájaro, or they call it the what's it, the free bird or the firebird or the phoenix. Different sightings like that, you know. And but I believe it's dealing with because where I come from is close to the equator, so you know there's a lot of it gets real hot and a lot of energy, you know. So a lot of activity happens. If you were to go to the cemetery there, brother, down there, you most likely will capture something because the activity's hot over there. Because
Yeah,
then you don't even have to go to the cemetery. You can go to a dirt road and you're gonna see these shadow figures come out of nowhere. They're gonna come to you and you're like, oh shoot, what is that? You know, and it's gonna you're recording it. You're gonna be able to capture them on camera. I mean, they'll come up to your vehicle and stuff like that. I mean, that's where I grew up in that kind of environment. So once I joined the military, you know, which I served 10 years. I was my first duty station was uh, in Germany, in Erlangen, Germany. I was in Delta 135 Armor. You know, over there, I went to Operations Desert Storm. When I came back to Fort Hood, I was in the Cav for about 8.5 years. I was in one three. I was in Delta 132 Armor, and then it changed to Delta 212 Cav for about 8 years. So
yeah. I remember you also sharing that you and your unit had seen large dogs that approached the camp. Could you explain what happened with that?
well, I had an incident. Well, I was in the Battle of Medina Ridge out in combat, and there are several incidences that happened when I was with 134 Armor. We had already been in the Battle of Medina Ridge, in which we defeated the Medina Republican Guard and other guards that were with them. So they told us to stand in place of where we fought, which was in the middle of the battlefield, where all the burning tanks were and the dead bodies were. We stayed there for about 5 days. You know, when you're in the military, somebody gives you order, you gotta follow through the order. So you know, every night or just about even during the day, you hear the dogs eating the bodies and you know body parts and all that, eating the from the deceased soldiers. And there was something started happening where I'm hearing them because you could hear the noise. There's nothing blocking the sound. You know, you're in the desert in the open sand, and I start hearing something growling while I'm trying to get some rest above me. You know, like something standing above me, and the growl doesn't sound like the growl of the dogs. It's like a very strong growl. You know, and it's like I'm trying to figure out what it is that's growling above me, that's standing over me, and that's that I'm laying on top of the tank. So it kept on happening like that, and I could hear something growling over me. And then one day I just left all my gear on. I said, when that growl comes again, I'm trying to find out what it is. So I heard the growl above me. So when I heard the loud growl, I jumped off. I had my gear on, and I'm looking, and it's pitch dark because you got the burning oil. There was the burning tank, so the sky is black, and I'm looking to see what I see, and the only thing I see in the distance is a big old white dog. It's huge, and it's crawling towards me like it's gonna attack me. So when I jump off the tank, it starts running, and I start running towards it because I was already tired of it trying to mess with me. So I'm running towards it, and it's running, and it jumps from my neck area. When it jumps from my neck area, I hit it, it spins, and I just start going at it and punching the hell out of it. And I had already my band-aid out, and I was going to take it out, and you could hear the dog where it's crying, where I'm tearing him up, because I felt that what happened is that this dogs were feasting on the body parts or on the ground that they started seeing us as food. So uh, I hurt the dog pretty bad, and they were trying to find out what's going on. So I told them what happened. So the following day, they put an ordinance to kill all the dogs that were out there. But yeah,
But so you're
the
saying,
thing is, the dog that I encountered was not the thing that I was hearing.
yeah, okay,
Because
yeah,
what I
I'm
was
glad you
hearing
you
was
clarified that. Yeah.
a loud growl, and it was above me. And there's no trees out there or nothing, so it was something that was tall above me that was growling. The growl wasn't coming from the ground where the dogs were. This growl was coming from above me, which would be like on top of my turret, but higher. So it had to be something that was tall.
Almost like it was
Yes.
standing over the.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
And
when you hear the growl, it felt like some heat, like something hot. And it was weird because in nighttime it's fresh out there. So I guess I was feeling kind of like the breath, the of it growling at me. I just never was able to identify what was it that was growling at me. I know that I had seen some other activity uh, during combat where, but that's still going into the spiritual aspect of things. But it's possible. I know people don't understand. I know what a gen is or degen.
mhm.
That it's possible that it could have been the degen because I witnessed that in combat also during the war. This dark shadow figure elevated in the sky, and it went flying in the air, and there were some soldiers that were giving up. They had the white flags, and as it entered them, they dropped the flag, and you could see their eyes like yellowish, and they would pick up a weapon off the ground, and they get killed. This happened during the combat, and then it would jump out of the person that lost his life and go into another person. It was jumping from person to person like that, and like every person that picked up a weapon, well, they died. Uh, and I believe that's what I was dealing with out there was the degen or the gen, what people call it, because they have the ability to shapeshift or manifest to look like something. It could look like a soldier, could look like a dog, or it could manifest to look like a lycanthrope or whatever it wants to manifest to.
Yeah, I've heard
That's a
of it
whole
being
different topic.
like the yellow eyes, like you described, and when it's not possessing a body, it's known to have just the eyes with the black shadow figure of a humanoid, and a lot of the stuff that I've watched with it online of people trying to seek these things out, they're like hiding behind frames of doors, peeking out, but then running away. But what you're describing is they're out in the open, taking over these other people's bodies and essentially controlling them. That's
Yeah, especially if they have a spiritual opening, they can attack. If there's people that are really seeking them out, all you got to do is dig a pit in the ground and light up a fire. Because fire is energy, so that energy from the fire is going to attract them. And I'm thinking that's why they were out there because there was a lot of burning tanks, and that's energy that they can feed off. Being out there, it's like they're not in areas where there's energy conductors or nothing like that. So that's just in the desert. So they're going to feed off any energy that it can feed off, and the burning tanks, explosion of rounds. That's some kind of energy that they can feed off, and I think that's what they were doing is feeding off the energy of that and of the spirits. Only God knows what were the condition of the soldiers that we had to overcome. They might have been feeding on them all that time where they're out there in the desert. We don't. We didn't get to see if they were well fed or if they were weak. But when I seen them doing that, is I guess it must have been already attacking them. Draining their energy. All that time they were in the defensive mode. I don't know how long they were out there in the desert. That's a thing, but it might have been attacking them already.
wow.
And they're not here to share their stories. So, what I seen, I feel that they were being spiritually attacked already. You figure if you're being attacked by something like that, you're going to want to give up. But the opening was there; they were weak, and it attacked them, and took them out.
Yeah, I've noticed too, and what I've been reading with a few of my deep dive series on energy grids, is that when we're doing things, especially like what you described with the explosion of bullets, that's like a beacon for these dark entities to then come in and seek out if there's any more energy, and also with the spiritual openings that you're describing, that's also a way to lure them in, so to speak. And so
Yeah,
that's
energy. Yeah, like even a natural stuff can attract them, like a earthquake, a volcano eruption, uh, eclipse, anything dealing with energy, it can attract them. That I think when that eclipse happened not too long ago, I noticed I was in my house and I noticed a dark shadow figure standing in my kitchen, like literally standing in my kitchen, but it was real dark, like it had gotten some energy from the eclipse that you could literally see its darkness, and it's standing there, and I looked at it and I said, "Hey, you're not welcome in my house. So take authority over and Jesus Christ, leave." And told it to leave, and he left. But after the eclipse, it looked like the disembodied right spirits got some kind of energy to be able to manifest more. More than you're able to see them with the naked eye without using a camera or camcorder. That you're able to see them with the naked eye. But that's not everybody can see that way.
right.
You really have to train yourself. Be train your senses a certain way to be able to see them.
There was one instance where I had seen some. This was in a Walmart like a little over a year ago, but one of the customers that was frequenting the store around the same time I was, we kind of weren't getting along, and they had passed me going down an aisle, and this one particular night, it did seem like there was a shadow over their face, like I couldn't see any of their details, like their eyes, nose, mouth. Like it was almost like a cloak was over their face, and that was uh, real, like the one of the first times I've witnessed that. But I do understand that not everybody can see that. But I think that was partially the entity that was possessing this person showing themselves to me, and I try to avoid them as much as possible now. I don't frequent the same stores anymore, and I've changed up my schedule so that I don't have encounters like that. But yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
something that you'd have to train your eyes to see. I normally I could read a room with energy. I've gone to village board meetings. I've performed in front of live audiences in theaters. So over time, like I've developed that extra sight, so to speak. But yeah,
Yes. If you look into the history of like where the pyramids are, a lot of those things have a lot in common. Like mask is one of them. The mask that they would wear is like monster like, and which would be demonic. You know, whether it was a Hispanic, Mexican, natives, the pharaohs, they had some kind of mask that they would wear because they were, I guess, imitating something that they might have seen, which would be, I believe, it comes from the spiritual realm, because it's, those things that I call DDN, somebody demonic that they can manifest that way. Shamans used to dress that way, where they would put a mask or a head of an animal, because those are the things that they were seeing. Shapeshifter skinwalkers fall in that category. Which that's what they do. You could see a native. Next thing you know, you're seeing somebody walking with a hide on their head, and then all of a sudden you see a lycanthrope. Like a werewolf, or you see a Bigfoot, because or a goat man. But it's the manifestations that they're taking through, I guess, the dark arts, through witchcraft, necromancy, whatever a deal or what they made or whatever, that they have those abilities. And there's a lot of that here in Central Texas, all over Central Texas, even on Fort Hood, or Fort Cavazos now, on the Army base. A lot of that activity there. It's pretty bad, man. A lot of that land here used to be native land, so there's a lot of native Indian burial grounds that they built over, in which there's a lot of activity. So I can only imagine to the areas that you go, because you're going to where there's grids and stuff like that. So I'm more sure there's activity there. It's just, why you don't see them or you don't sense it, I don't know, but uh, it's got to be activity there. It's just, to capture it is a thing. Maybe they see something, or maybe they're trying to. You just got to be careful, because you don't want nothing to attach itself to you.
yeah. I guess I'll elaborate on that with my time going and not seeing anything. I was bringing along my younger cousins with me, and
Hmm.
I wonder if that was actually protection, and they chose not to show themselves while we were visiting. But like I've heard, not while we were at a mausoleum, but on the video before going into one, we passed a sign that says "No dogs allowed," and there was a dog bark on the video, but
Oh
we didn't
wow!
hear it when we walked past the sign, and that was captured by one of my cousins, like on one of our many trips that we went on going and looking for these things. And other stories from Bachelor's Grove. There's so much going on, but I guess the geological aspect of it, there's a like a methane gas pocket that's underneath the cemetery and
Really?
the pond, and there's also, I think, time slips or interdimensional slips. People seeing each other at like the front of the entrance, walking down the trail, and then seeing that same person already in the cemetery. It's like a quarter
Oh
mile
wow!
walk. Yeah, and like
Like double hangers,
the doppelgangers. Yeah,
no more.
yeah. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. There's a disappearing house that's like in the forest somewhere. People see this white house with a porch and the light on. So I was going out there trying to look for this stuff, and I didn't come across it. But probably was a good thing, because I did go across the street to the other forested area. I I experienced brand new batteries and a flashlight draining, just like going out very
Quickly.
slow and quick. Yeah, like a fade out. It was a fade out of the light, and then I was able to discard those batteries, put them in a plastic bag. I put brand new ones in because I brought like a whole case of 40 batteries. Put the new ones in, was able to turn it on, and immediately it dimmed out again. And so it was something with, I think that land. That's what my guess is that there's there's that energetic grid that's
Man,
also connected to the
what state is this, brother?
Bachelor's Grove Cemetery and Bachelor's Grove Woods.
Where is this at? What state?
It's in Illinois. It's
Illinois.
I want to say it's right next to Midlothian. I can't remember exactly the town it's in, but that's how I know. That's my reference point. You could can actually get there driving straight down Harlem Avenue, down south to near the old Tweeter Amphitheater. I mean, I don't know. It's a local venue in the area. A lot of musicians go play there, but that it's like in that general vicinity, and it's closed off at night to the public. But there's people probably still going to this day at night. Like you can park pretty far away and walk your way through the forest up into the cemetery gates, which are open. There's no, I think there's
Wow.
no gates anymore. It's just open, and vandalism happens there, which I also think is why there's heightened activity. But overall, people see different colored orbs. You see like white orbs, blue orbs, green orbs. I think if only a few times there's been red orbs, and the doppelganger thing was a fairly new one several years ago, and it just raises more questions than answers for me. But
Yeah.
that's really
I mean, if you were to find that house that they're talking about, I don't know, you want to go into it if you were to find it, especially if it's a disappearing house. That's not good.
yeah,
uh, it appears and disappears. They don't imagine you go in and you disappear with the house.
yeah,
Then
and then you're stuck
you
at
come,
whatever time it's in. Yeah,
then you reappear and it's like 10 years have passed by or something. You might never know. But yeah, that's crazy. And nobody's ever stepped inside the house that you know of.
not from what I recall. No, uh, if they have, they're not here to share it.
Yeah.
The one prominent researcher of that area, Pete Crapia, he shared a lot of good research he was doing. He was using a special video camera that picked up like light waves and energy waves. Like he was really getting into his research, but then for some reason or another, he ended up taking his life in the forest nearby. And nobody found out
Wow.
about this until like a year after it happened, which is, I think it's now been about 2 years. But this guy was doing a lot of research in the area. He was running the YouTube channel Bachelor's Grove. And
Oh wow.
yeah, so like he was a caretaker of sorts of the area. He had his quarrels with other people that called themselves caretakers, but for the most part, he was just trying to understand the place better, trying to get more intimate with it. And it's just unfortunate he's no longer with us. But
Yeah, we open up too much to it, and
that's what I think.
whatever's there, whatever's there, entered him and
He had
took
said,
over his
yeah,
took over his vessel.
yeah, he would do meditations where he said he was talking to other beings, and
There you go.
yeah, so
And
they
that's not
probably
good.
talked to him too much. I wouldn't
That's
be
not good when you
surprised.
open up yourself to that, because you might not even be talking to another being. It could be a demon, and then the opening is there because you're opening up to it, and it possesses, and your body is like you're not in charge of your body no more, and things like that happen.
So how
I hear
would
stories where, yeah.
yeah, how would you be able to tell the difference between something that's demonic presenting itself as good and something that's actually good in terms of energy and not taking over by people's bodies, but entities coming to help and interact with us and try to share information.
Yeah, I believe that most once somebody crosses over, they crossed over. Once they're deceased, they're gone. So all these other things that you might hear, like for example, when I go doing investigations, I could hear little kids, I could hear a woman, I could hear animals and different sounds that they make. Which is they can mimic sounds, mimic voices, mimic languages, but I already know what they are. So when they're doing all those things, sometimes you might hear a little oink oink like a pig. So it's indirectly identifying itself to you what it is. If it's doing the sound of a pig, we already know what that is. That's dealing with Jesus Christ casting out the legion out of that the man that was possessed. They're not going to tell you what it is. They might give you, like, if you're doing an EVP, uh, it might give you a hint or a clue, like they can call themselves, and which has happened to me, the herd. Which you're like, the herd of what, right? You're not going to tell you pigs. It's like it plays like a clue game with you. It's trying to let you know what it is, or if it's making the sounds of a pig, then if you're spiritually aware or in tune, that's telling you it's demonic. That's the legion, so it's literally identifying itself to you through spiritual law. So then what you got to do is go into prayer and protect yourself, because it's letting you know who it is that you're in. It's there in front of you. Indirectly is letting you know what it is. So the gentleman you were talking about, if he thought he was talking to a spirit and he'd open himself to it and it says, come, he's telling him, come into me and show me something, or talk to me, so he's opening himself up to that demon or legion, so he gets possessed. And that's most likely why he's not here no more, because that's what happened. uh, he got possessed and they took him out, because they don't care about us. They want us, because we were created under God's image. They want to destroy us. So he made the mistake of opening up to him to communicate, and they took advantage of him. And that's why he's not here. And I've seen it happen to homeless people, where homeless person will run and jump in the middle of a highway where there's traffic, and jump in front of a semi, and that's it. They're gone out of the face of this world. What made the homeless person do that? It's because most likely they had or possessed, or something had overtaken them. They were vulnerable because they're not eating properly. Whether they got some kind of problem with drugs, or drinking, or they're depressed. That's an opening. So to them, it's just another body to collect, another soul to collect. It's a vessel. So they attack the vessel. The DDN, disembodied demonic Nephilim, that's what they do. They don't have a body, uh, but they have their spirit. So they roam earth to possess a host, to destroy a host. And when you hear strange events like that happening, that's them that are doing that. When you hear that somebody took their life, or somebody jumped off a bridge, jumped in front of a car. Now you hear it sometimes where it's little kids, 2, 3 years old, picked up a gun and goes kills a little brother and little sister. And that's what they do. And nobody can. There's no detective that can trace it to the DDN, because they're in disembodied form.
Yeah.
If you don't have no physical proof, because that's what they go by, the investigators, physical proof. Then how are you going to prove it? How can they prove something that's invisible, right? Disembodied form. And that's why you have to put the spirit to the test. If you know somebody's acting weird, or you want to help somebody that's acting strange, like it's not them, that something is overtook in the body, put that spirit to the test. Tie, bind, and rebuke it in Jesus Christ's name. Cast that out of that individual. And if that person becomes better and they're back to normal, then you know that something had infiltrated that vessel and took over that vessel. That's why you put the spirits to the test. Even when you do your investigations and there's something weird happening around you, brother, don't hesitate to tie, bind, and rebuke in Jesus Christ's name, because that's what you're supposed to do. I've done that so many times when I go investigate. I go by myself. I think the couple of videos that I've done, my brother wanted to go with me, but all the other videos that I've done is I've been by myself, and sometimes I get overwhelmed because you feel all the activity around you. I'm more sure if I were to go to the location you're talking about in Illinois, I'll be able to find something or find some kind of evidence, because I'm attending a Heavenly Love Foundation, so they know if there's something negative there, it's going to come to me. It's going to identify itself to me, and I'm able to see things and stuff like that. It's just, you don't want to open up to something, especially if it's, negative, unclean, or demonic presence. You don't want to open up to that, because you got to protect your vessel.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of opening themselves like that to the spirits, because they forget that this the DDN, they are in spirit form, so they're spirits in a sensible way, but unclean spirits. So
Yeah, and I
you got to be
just
careful
want
what you
to.
say.
Sorry about that. Like
Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to mention about people believing that the spirits of humans are still lingering here, looking over us, especially loved ones and all of that. But I mean, we have video evidence from hospitals of when people are passing over that their spirit just goes. It doesn't stick around, it just goes up and disappears. And what you're explaining here is that they're not lingering around here like we or most people think, and
Yeah,
that what we're actually dealing with most of the time are these DDNs and other things imitating others
your
because
loved
they don't
ones.
have their own body.
Exactly. They imitate the loved ones because they're trying to find a spiritual opening. So if you're missing your mother and your mother's been deceased for about, that's what happened to me. They're deceased for years, and then all of a sudden you're wide awake. You're not asleep. You're wide awake, and you see somebody standing and sitting on somebody's porch, and you're looking, and then the light is on and everything. You see the person walk down the stairs, and she looks at you and she smiles at you, and you see that it looks just like your mother when they passed away, but there's no way that could be if you're like 20 years ahead of in the future. So if you're really looking to the spirit, then you see that it's not her. And so that's when you go into prayer. You go into prayer, and the manifestation that these DDN, unclean spirits, demons, what they call many names, right? You test the spirit put it to the test through prayer. You want to say the Our Father, or you type on it Jesus Christ's name. The manifestation is going to break. Sometimes they'll disappear. It'll smell like sulfur, and which is letting you know it's coming from the hell realm, or it's demonic. Or sometimes they disappear or vanish without, like the smell of sulfur. Sometimes they have like the smell of sulfur and white smoke. Uh, Sometimes when they disappear, they leave a black goo on the ground. And it smells nasty, like pestilence. So that's when you know that they're from somewhere else, that it is not the spirit or your loved one.
Wow.
You put it to the test. If it flees when you type under rebuke in Jesus Christ's name, it's not your loved ones. I'm just letting you know. And they can mimic their voices real good. They can mimic their voices, pretend to be them. But that's why you put the spirit to the test.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to approach it, because I know there's the wishful thinking that, oh, maybe it's them visiting, which it most likely isn't. And then there's also the possibility of it being a time slip where we're experiencing something from the past in the present. And that's not the case for everything either, because those types of things happen, again, only in certain areas that have certain types of rock and minerals that can go ahead and produce that type of effect, especially with the magnetic ley lines.
Oh yeah.
If they're man-made from an ancient civilization, they work like ancient VHS tapes. So it would record very high emotionally intense moments, and then it would repeat them. So again, it's not you're not seeing uh, spiritual manifestations from the past. Like, you're seeing a past event that's been imprinted onto the land, and it just is repeating over and over. Like, you can't interact with it, but you're going to be able to see it for a short period of time. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up as well, that we're dealing with a lot of different types of things when we're looking into the spiritual and paranormal. But first and foremost, say your prayers and invoke the name Jesus Christ to just clear the air and make sure that these aren't demonic entities. And if they are, then they will disperse once.
Even some of these locations like cemeteries or somewhere where there could have been bloodshed, like Gettysburg, you know, those areas have trapped energy because, or from the blood, the blood is like a form of sacrifice, because there's blood shed. So yes, those things linger there because there was bloodshed, and it's like a form of sacrifice. So I think that's why when I was out there in the front lines, I was hearing the things that I was hearing, which would be something demonic, because there was bloodshed, people died, so they have authority to be there. When we talk about hellhounds, the Hat Man, or soul collector, soul reapers, you know, they can be in those locations. So you might capture one of those in the locations that you're investigating.
There's evidence of a previous American Indian battle in Gettysburg many years before that. I wish I had it on hand here, but it's really it's been an area that it seems to have drawn many people to over the years, and that's why there's so many just bad bad entities and vibes coming from all of this. Yeah, I wish I knew, but I've seen it in this book, "The Witch Cloud" by Timothy Renner. That I think it was called "The Battle of the Black Crows," but you could look it up. But there was more than one battle on the Gettysburg land, and so you go ahead and you think about that, going ahead and taking into account all these blood sacrifices,
Still on, Rebel.
and then you have just or every now and then having these big battles happen on that land. It's definitely changed the atmosphere there, but there also might be
Oh yeah,
something drawing people into it.
the cemetery is one of those places. There's people that are buried there, but you don't know what the background was. You know what they were into, right? There could have been people that were Christians. It could have been people that were practicing other things. Some people, that's what they choose. The path that they're on to die. So when you go visit a cemetery, there could be all kinds of openings there. That's why you got to be careful. Some could be good, and some could be they were worshiping something else, and there's all kinds of activity in cemeteries. I know they say it's holy ground, right? But like I said, it's upon the person whatever they were practicing or what they were worshiping. Whereas you can't. That's why I believe there's a lot of activity at the cemeteries.
Would you attribute that to those people having attachments to the physical remains? Like they have
Uh,
attachments that they were using or like coaxing in to attach to them while they were alive, and that, let's say, the bones of those people, that's where these entities continue to try to generate energy from.
uh, Sometimes I believe it has to do with. Sorry about the activity, guys. I had my brother. I showed up and he went like that. That he was going to work and my wife just walked in. Sorry about
It's
that.
all good. It's all good.
Uh, yeah, sometimes it has to do also, I believe, with the individual. You know, if, for example, they were dabbling in something and they made promises to the things that they were worshiping. Like, for example, where when it comes down to generational curses, if they said, okay, you can go affect my next of kin, and let's say one of your next of kin's name, whether it's a grandson or granddaughter, and it has to do with that, that the like generational curses. That's why we have to take authority of anything that anybody has done in the past, and cut those negative ties. Uh, but maintaining love foundation, forgiving, uh, no fear, but we gotta sever those ties with that. But the activity will be there at the cemetery because that's what the person was about. So when you go to the cemetery, the activity's there, I believe. Lingering, whatever deal they made, sometimes the spirit, just like the DDN, which is the Nephilim, their spirits continue to live as demons, like the spirits. So you got the shapeshifter skinwalkers that could do that. So somebody that might have been dabbling in something like a witch or a warlock, they might have the capability too. Depends what kind of deal they made. And that's why there could be activity like that at the cemeteries. You have to be careful. Some energies might be able to scratch you, marks of threes, or you might feel something grab you, and you look, and your arm is red.
Yeah, there's been
They're trying
accounts
to
of
do energy.
the scratching that's been reported at Bachelor's Grove. So,
Yes.
and I know a
So
few
what
people
it's
that,
doing is trying to drain your energy. That's what they try to do. If it's strong enough, uh, it'll drain all your energy, just like the batteries, and it'll drop you. You might lose consciousness by the time you wake up. Maybe 5 minutes that might have passed by. 10 minutes might have passed by. You don't know because you were out. But yeah, they have the ability to do that. That's why you can give it power to say that to talk to them, or you open yourself up like a conduit. Tell them that they're allowed to come to your body, and then that's giving in to the enemy because you don't know what's out there. So you have to be very careful what you're doing.
yeah,
And I feel sorry for that guy. I wish I knew what he was doing and or could help him, but something was drawing him to continue to go there. Something was drawing him to continue to go there, investigate, and then boom, he got him.
yeah, it's just
So that's why
unfortunate.
you got to be careful. You see, it happen to a lot of people like that. It's the power of belief. If you're believing that, because the demon can tell you it's a boy named John. You go over there, okay, John, come to me. But it's a demon pretending to be John. Well, the demon's coming to him, and it's getting a stronger hold over that individual. No difference than Ouija boards. When somebody, who am I talking to? David. It says the name David. You could say any of a girl, and then as you continue to use it, and I want to speak to David. Is he David? And if it's a yes, it's. But what if it's not? What if it's a demon? You're giving it power to believe because it's pretending to be David or whatever name it gives you. And just by that, you believing it's David, that's the opening it has to be able to attach itself to you or cause chaos and havoc in your house, especially if you're using it inside your house. Some people say, "Oh, so long you close it, you're good." No, you're messing with that, and those things are the spirit. So you don't really have to use a board to attack you because it can come in spirit. Yes, that's because that's what they are. They're unseen. They're in spirit, so they don't have to use a board to. They can come in another through another source. They can come through a tree. A tree. You've heard it before, where they can go. People say, "I've seen a Bigfoot going through a tree. I've seen a dog man going through a tree." How is that possible if they're supposed to be flesh creatures? They're supposed to be in the flesh. It's because they're in the spirit that they're able to go through an object like that, and that's what they do. I had an incident with my sister where she had bought a. I was working two jobs when I was in high school, and my sister had bought this Ouija board from a garage sale. It was an old wooden one, I guess, and I didn't think nothing of it. It's like I just because when I used to work at Walmart, they used to sell the Ouija boards there, but they were made differently.
Yeah.
And then everywhere my sister went with his a Ouija board, it's like she was always carried it with her, and then one day they were somewhere in a dirt road, and she said that the Ouija board doesn't like me, and I didn't say nothing to her and ignored her. And then later on, she told me again. We went over here, and so why are you saying they don't like me? It's like, well, it said your name, and it was cussing while it was saying your name, and so I was like, I just ignored her. But then I noticed a change in her where I come off of work. There was one time that it sent a message about a tape in the attic or something. Back then, that's in the 80s. You had the recorders, so it said that it was a tape in the attic. So it stayed in my head. I got off of work and nobody was at the house, and I said, "Screw it, I'm going into the attic and go look for this supposedly tape that's up there in the attic." So I'm out there up in the attic, not even there 5 minutes. Crawling on the attic, and I hear the front door open. I hear somebody running inside the house, and it's my sister. And my sister saying, "Get out of there! Get out of there! It's coming for you! It's coming for you!" So I was able to, crawl back out and came out. I said, "What are you talking about?" She said that she was somewhere else, and the Ouija board gets to her. The name it gave her was David. Said that it was coming for me because I was in the attic. So, spiritually, the spirit knows. The spirit knows the spirit, right? So he knew that I was in the attic. So after that, I left it alone, and then I came from work one day, and my sister had her hair over her head. The little thing that operates a Ouija board. What is that called, brother?
The planche.
It started
The
moving by it was moving by itself.
yeah.
My sister sitting on the couch with her hair over her head, and it's moving by itself real fast. And my sister's cussing, saying a bunch of bad words, and then she said that he was saying all those bad words were to me. Then he started moving and said, "You kill me, that's why I kill your mom." That's what it said. The Ouija board. So I said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done." So I said, I told the Ouija board, I said, what if I were to put some holy water on you, a crucifix, and burn you? What are you going to do? The little board and the little thing was moving crazy on the board, and the board started trembling because I told it to show itself, right? To appear, to show itself, so I can fight it spiritually to show itself. And it said, "You almost made me, you almost made me." So I grabbed the board from my sister and the thing. When I grabbed it off of her, my sister jumped on me and started punching me in the face.
Wow.
I threw her off of me. My other sister grabbed her. I took the Ouija board I took it outside, put some holy water on it. I started saying the Our Father. I had a crucifix, and then I put after I moved the item, the crucifix away from it. Put some gasoline on it, and I burned it. I lit it up, and there was like nothing but black smoke coming out of it. I lit it up, I burned it, got rid of the residue, put it in a bag, and took it to a dish and got rid of it. So I said, okay, it's done. It's we're done. There's no more Ouija board in the house, and no more activities going to happen. 2 weeks later, I'm outside and talking to some friends, some female friends that came to visit me, and as we're talking, there's this man that passes by on this 10th Street bike, and he makes this weird yell like an animal sound, and the girls over there, they got scared. It was like around 10:30 at night, and he comes back on his bike, and his bicycle was a 10 speed, and he stops there. He looked like this guy that went to school with me named Martin. I said, "Hey, what's up, Martin? How you doing?" And he looked at me and told me to shut up. Then he looked at the girls and he said, "Who's scared?" And nobody was saying nothing. So when I looked at the girls, it's like there was no time. Like they were frozen. Like they couldn't blink or nothing. I was going like that to them. They wouldn't say nothing. Like they were like frozen. Like there was no time. I looked up like this to the sky. The clouds were just stand still. There wasn't moving or nothing. So, I told the guy, what are you doing here? And why are you disrespecting my friends? Why are you coming to my house? You need to leave. And he kept on asking them who's afraid, but they couldn't respond. And I think my sister had come outside, and he looked at her, and he called her by her house name. I told my sister just to go inside because something weird about this guy. His eyes were a little bit reddish, and then everything I did, he would mimic. If I put my hands on my hips, he would mimic. Everything I did, if I put my arms across like this, he was mimicking me. And I told him, "What are you doing here?" I said, "You're here. You come in uninvited. You need to leave." And he said, "I'm going to give you a hint." I said, "I'm going to give you a clue." He said, "Just because you put a holy water on me, a crucifix on me, and burn me, don't mean you're going to get rid of me." And then he gave me a smile, a big old smile. I said, the first thing I thought was the Ouija board. So then it had to be the demon that was in the Ouija board. So he's looking at me, and I'm looking at it, and I told him, he had to leave. Then he said, I'm here for only one reason. He said, in my path, I said, I know. He said, in your path, you already know what that is. It's about in my path, you can have anything you want. You can be the richest man in the world. You got to follow me. When he was saying that, this car was passing by, and the lights hit him in the face, and you can see a skull and a snake going through his skull. But then his manifestation came back, But I already knew that he wasn't human, that he was something from the supernatural, something demonic. So I told him, you already know where I stand. And I started praying against him. I started saying, "Our Father." And as I was praying against them, my sister came out because she could hear everything, and she started praying also. And we were praying, and it said, "I cannot win right now, but there's going to be a time where God is not going to be with you, and I'm going to be there." So he turned around and took like 2-3 feet. There was a puff of smoke and smelled like sulfur, and he vanished. But we overcame him that day through prayer. Yeah, it was a crazy event, which just started. Like I said, I've been battling for a very long time. It told me that when he was there, that when he passed by, that he could have turned into any form. He told me I could have turned into any form, into any animal that I wanted. That he could basically change into any form. So when the demon said that, that's telling me, when we see all these cryptids that people are identifying, To me, I believe it comes from the same, which is demonic, from the demonic realm, because they have the capability to shapeshift at will. Like you can see a fox, next thing you see a dog, next thing you see a person. They can shapeshift that fast, that to keep you confused of what they truly are. And I think that's why when I came into the cryptid community, I came in here because I got invited to do it from a picture I had to speak about what happened to me. But I didn't really know what cryptid meant. you know, I didn't know what cryptid meant, until they started talking about, well, I know what Bigfoot is when somebody said, well, Bigfoot. So, well, I've heard of Bigfoot, but I don't know what cryptid meant, what is, so when I came into that's what I named it spiritual encrypted. I did get targeted when I brought this about the spiritual aspect of things, how it works. I get targeted by believers of Bigfoot and other things that they believe they're flesh, 100% flesh. But what I've seen of what I've witnessed throughout my life, I've noticed that there are demons that have the capability to shapeshift, to turn into these things. And the best way I can tell you, like I told you earlier, is you put whatever manifestation you're seeing, put it to the spiritual test. Tie by the rebuke of Jesus Christ name. And if it disappears, but when you say it, you're gonna say it in true faith. You're gonna be on the right path. Because if you're not, then it's probably gonna laugh at you. Then it's gonna come and try to attack you. So you gotta have some kind of faith in the Heavenly Father in Jesus Christ. Because if you're not doing it out of true faith, it knows your spirit. Just like it knows your spirit, it knows your fears. That's how they attack. They know everything about you. They don't even have to ask you nothing. They know everything about you. So they're going to use that against you.
Yeah, that was bringing up these ideas that Bigfoot's not flesh and blood. Joshua Cutchin and Timothy Renner are two researchers out in Pennsylvania, and they've gone throughout the country to do different investigations, but they primarily focus on Pennsylvania. And Timothy Renner made this claim, backed up by all of this different evidence that he compiled, that the Bigfoot are very similar to poltergeist in terms of activity. And that makes a lot of sense when we add in your perspective of it being demonic in nature overall. Then it can manifest and become a Bigfoot or act as a disembodied entity, opening and closing cabinets in people's houses and making noises. Yes. So that all follows along with that.
Yes, sir. I had a lady call me because she had seen the show, and she said that she called me one day and she said, I seen him. I said, what'd you see? She said, I seen the dog man looking at me. I was walking my dog by the woods and he was looking at me. And I said, what? I said, okay. And I said, well, I'll keep you in prayer and this, Then she called me back like 2 days later, and she tells me that the dog man is living in her living room. It's like, what is? Yes, it's living. It sleeps on my couch. That's what she's telling me,
Wow.
So then I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. So I believe you have an attachment that jumped on you. Because did you, when you came back inside the house, after you seen the dog man, did you do the sign of the cross and say, welcome to come in my house? And she said, no. So I believe it's in your house now. So now we need to get rid of it because it followed you inside your home. So I gave her the block of instructions of what to do. I was over on the phone with her to place the heavenly crosses on the doorways, on the windows, and to take authority over it, not to be afraid, but to tell it, I take authority over you. Tie, bind, rebuke in Jesus Christ's name. Leave my house. You're not welcome here. She did that, And then she coming back like a week later, and she tells me thank you. I got rid of what was in my house, but she was saying that it was causing all kinds of chaos and havoc in her house. So yeah, it can attach itself to you into your home. If you don't, I always tell people if you go do an investigation, pray before. Things get out of control, pray during, and pray when you leave, and say that nothing is welcome to follow, nothing is allowed to follow you home. To stay wherever it's at that is not allowed at your house, because if you don't take those precautions, then things can happen to you. You have to protect yourself. I've seen people that some that were Wiccans that said they could close a portal. They try to go to the area in Elms Grove where I live. That they try to go close a portal there. She told me where was that. We went there. It was nighttime, and I told her I was going to stay at a certain section. I was saying I was praying, and she went to where I seen the dog man that was close to me. I said right there. So she's there about 2-3 minutes, and not even 2 minutes. I say like seconds because it happened fast. All I hear her say says, "Oh shit!" That's I hear, and then I see her running past me. I see a big old giant red orb come out of the woods, and it's chasing her. The red orb. I'm not gonna say orb. I'll say more like something without the flesh. Something just a subcutaneous layer that's all red. That's what I witnessed. Something without the flesh. I could see that kind of redness. It's standing in front of me, but I'm saying to our Father, so it follows her, right? Um, so I go down to the entrance, and there she is. She's in the middle of the path, laid out, no energy. The other female soldiers, because they were in the military, they came and picked her up. She had bumps all over her face, her arms, her legs, her stomach. She lost all her energy. They had to carry her out of there. Then she started seeing the things that I would see, the dark shadows. She started describing the lycanthrope dogman or shaped skinwalkers that I would see. And when I was looking and she was pointing them out, I couldn't see nothing, but she was seeing them because she got attacked by the unclean spirit, right? So it's kind of like a form of being some try to attach itself to you, but to possess you, right? So she was able to see all these things, but she was real weak, and she started screaming. And I told her, "Hey, get her in the vehicle and get her out of here." So I started praying, and I couldn't see nothing, but I said, "Well, if there's anything here, you're not allowed to follow them." I talked about her in Jesus Christ's name, but I never ever seen her again. She said she could astral project, and that she could close the portal there, and that's the last time I ever seen her. They had camcorders, EVPs, but they never brought the evidence back. They were spooked, never came back. You just got to be careful, and I don't think. I mean, I could take people to the locations, but I just don't want nothing to happen to nobody because I know what openings to look for. I mean, how they can attack people. I don't want nothing happening to nobody. I will feel bad if something happened to somebody, especially if they wasn't ready to go into an area, But
When you go to these areas and you're doing investigations like this, you're under the understanding that they're not spirits of departed people from this earth. You're looking for demonic entities, essentially, right?
well, no, I'm just sensing the energy that's around me. So when I go and walk in there, of course I pray, and I'm maintaining my love foundation. But as I'm maintaining my love foundation, they surface up because I'm maintaining my love foundation, placing Jesus Christ first. So they surface up and they identify themselves to me. Whether they growl, they whisper something, they run towards me, which I'm not seeing nothing because I could hear the footsteps running towards me. I could hear the growls, but I'm not seeing anything in physical form. But when I get to recording where these things are happening, that's when I capture them. Is when I record. But I'm going there with the love foundation of my faith and believe in Jesus Christ,
Yes.
and they do not like that, so they surface up. You know, so that I can easily debunk an area if somebody's saying, "Oh, there somebody haunts this area," and if it's like in spirit, I'm going to be able to see it because they show themselves to me, or something that's demonic in nature might show itself to me, whether it's in an orb-like form or that manifests to look like a lycanthrope or a Bigfoot, in which I've seen. I see one that looks like which is a one that's like a goat man. I've seen one of those, but like I guess his name is Pan. I've seen one like that before. I've seen different entities, from the spiritual realm that manifest and show themselves to me because they have to identify themselves to me through spiritual law, indirectly. They identify themselves to me. This happens when, like I said, I've seen a homeless, and that homeless person has an unclean spirit in them, and the unclean spirit that's in them will tell me something that only I know, something dealing with me. So when they do that, they're telling me what they are. So I pray for the individual and I say, uh, I tie, bind, and rebuke any unclean spirits that are attached to you at this time. In Jesus Christ's name, when I do that, the unclean spirit flees and the person becomes normal. Just gotta know what to do. And normally, the spirit is I don't know if it's tired of being in the person, but it's letting me know. And sometimes it could be a test. Sometimes maybe they think, oh, this guy's got an opening. When he tries to pray for this person, I'm attacking. So that's when just you maintain radiate your love foundation and focus on getting rid of the unclean spirit that person has. Then you talk to the individual, you find out what they're going through. They'll tell you if they're in the bad road, like drugs or liquor or something might have happened in their life that they got on their route, and just pray for them. You tell them to ask God for forgiveness, repent for their sins, and so these unclean spirits won't be able to try to come back and attach on them immediately. You got to give them some space, and you have to guide them spiritually of what to do. But it's one of the things where a lot of people don't like getting involved in because they don't want nothing coming to them. But what's the difference, right? When you're helping out an individual, or you're going into an area of a haunted house or cemetery, it's just almost the same thing. You got to be able to know what to do when things start getting crazy. Cemeteries, you might hear somebody laughing, woman laughing, or something moving real fast. Control the fear with no fear, because that's what they want you to do. Fear is a spiritual opening. The
Yeah,
fear
it's like
factor.
it's an energy that they use as food. The
Yes.
fear reaction. Yeah. And you also show a lot of your photographic and video evidence on your channel. I pinned your YouTube channel to the top of the chat here so people can find it. But perhaps next time we have you on, we'll have you show some of your
Oh
I
yeah.
guess most prolific findings that you've had.
Oh
But you've had a
man,
lot of
tonight I made another discovery. Remember, I was telling you about the one that everybody makes fun because it looks like he's got something white on his nose, and we make fun of it because they say it's like a cocaine werewolf or cocaine dog man. Well, I found the footage of it, and I will reveal it tonight on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. At I'm thinking 10 or 11. I'm going to reveal it because you're going to see how tall it really is. Because the picture I got is a close up of it, but you're gonna see where it's at and where I'm at, where I'm standing, and how tall it is. It's you're gonna freak out with that, and I'm gonna reveal that tonight. I was thinking about making some short reels. I said, but I'm gonna reveal some of that tonight, and I captured two other entities in there too. So yeah,
yeah, that was
but yeah,
something I
brother.
was going to bring up. that when you capture these things, you get more than one of them, almost like more often
Oh
than
yeah.
not. And it's almost like they're grouped together, almost like they're hanging out together. Maybe the energy conservation might be an explanation.
Well, the Legion are many. That's that's my answer. The Legion are many, so they're in numbers. They're not gonna when I irradiate the Love Foundation, they come in numbers. So I'm not dealing with one, with two, with three, with four. I'm dealing with many. So yeah, you have to be very have faith, place Jesus Christ first when you're in these locations. I was able to help find a man that was missing for 2.5 months. It was just no. I followed to what the Heavenly Father tells me, and I went to this location, and I didn't even know this guy was missing. I had a piece of selenite. I had like a selenite little sword that's for decoration, and I was doing an experiment because people always tell me, "Well, take a weapon out there just in case you run into a dogman or Bigfoot." I said, "No, because Jesus Christ is my protector." So I took a selenite. It's like an energy conductor. A selenite, if it gets sun or sun moonlight, it'll absorb the energy, and you can place any minerals on there to give it energy. So I'll say if I'm going to take that with me. So if they try to drain my energy, the only energy they're going to drain is the energy of the selenite, right? So I take that with me, and as soon as I went into the path, activity just my life went away. I was like, oh man, took like 20 seconds. My life came back, and I could feel all the pressure around me, like they were all around me. And then I said, no fear. I walked through the pressure, even though it were there inches away from me. That there were inches away from me. I still walked through, and I have the video where I go and as I'm following this, I'm hearing all kinds of activity, all kinds of noises, and I'm able to find a truck in the woods. And I go up to the truck because its back is sticking out. Uh, wait, one. Let me do something real quick. The truck is the back of the truck is sticking out. So I go up to the truck. There's a wallet and the keys to the ignition. So I start yelling to see if anybody's there, and nobody's responding. So I'm there, and I keep on going forward. As I'm going forward, activity picks up even more, and he's just going crazy. And I'm hearing disembodied voices and all kinds of things, growlings. So I continue to pray, and I say it's time for me to leave. So I start walking. I go back to made it out of there safely, and I contact the police department, and I tell them about a missing truck that I located it out there. So I came back home. They call me to if I can give them the grids. I give them the grid to the location. They did a field. They want to go investigate the area, and they found a body out there also. So the body of a man that had been missing for 2.5 months.
Wow.
So, you know, the spiritually, the Heavenly Father uses me in many kind of ways, and I guess the demons that were out there, unclean spirits, were pissed off because I was gonna find. They were going to find this guy. They were trying to stop me from finding this guy that was missing because they didn't want him to be placed in holy ground. So yeah, I have the video, and if you were to put on your headsets, I'm more sure you'll be able to hear the sounds that they were making and all that. It's just it's on my YouTube channel. The man when he was found, he was buried, placed in holy ground. God rest his soul. Nobody deserves. I understand it if he was homeless or he was having problems, but he was found in the woods. That's all I know. Sounds kind of familiar to what happened to you, the person you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, Pete. It was weird with that one because he had stopped posting on his YouTube channel but like nobody came forward to say what happened. It was like everybody found out in the comments from a random commenter that came in one day on one of the last uploads saying that yeah
Oh,
he was found in the forest. And it was about a year ago, and they put a like a newspaper link showing the obituary. It was like I'm surprised nobody else did anything to let anyone know. But that was good. You gave closure probably to a lot of people finding that person or helping the what authorities search the area for it.
this one of the reasons that I continue to talk the things that I talk about because I'm you know I'm one of those people that care about everybody, man. I know the works that everybody does. I know what the works of the cryptozoologist. Uh, Larry Batson was my friend. You know, uh, I know of several people that do different works. You know, whether it's crypto, dealing with alien, or dealing with other things, right? But I'm just worried about them because I know what these things are capable of doing. If you give it a slight opening, they're attacking, and it's not one that's attacking; it's many that are attacking. So I just want to bring the spiritual awareness to the communities to be ready to be able to fight against them spiritually. It's good to have a weapon, but what is it good is a weapon going to do if it's something that's in disembodied form? It's in spirit, that's demonic. When you're shooting to kill, which is a form of anger, which that's a spiritual opening.
Yeah, it's actually going to
Whatever you're
fuel
shooting
them.
with,
Yeah,
you're going to feel it. Imagine if it's you and your buddy, and you're shooting at it. Next thing you know, you're the only one shooting, and you're trying to figure out, hey, why is my friend not shooting? And you look at your friend, and he's demonized. He's being possessed by one of them. You know, what are you going to do then? Well, you're going to shoot your friend? No, you're going to have to go into prayer and fight spiritually. You know, to try to get the unclean spirit that's in them. But you know, a lot of people do not prepare for the odds of something like that happening, which I've seen things like that happen before.
yeah, and
But
I
you
think
have to have the spiritual wisdom and knowledge to be able to help out that individual.
part of the spoken prayer is a form of energy, and that is in effect doing what the physical weapons would not do. So I totally understand what you're saying with that. I have a question from the chat here.
Yes,
Zen asks, Abe, does human experimentation explain some of the cryptids?
experimentation. Uh, I know through if you read through history, you know, like when they were supposedly creating the super soldier,
Yeah,
Hitler,
I think that's what he's
where
referring to. Either that or
uh,
tulpas.
you have that happening, you know, dealing with a super soldier, whether it existed or not. I mean, I know that when I was in Germany, I seen some Germans that look like Nephilim, that they're real tall, they're huge. Some of them were muscular, like way bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger, which something had to been experimented in them. But I don't think. I mean, maybe could animals been experiment? It's possible. Anything's possible with the government that they experiment in a lot of things. But if it's an animal that's being experimented or a person, and I'll just say it like this: it's not going to run into the tree and go through the tree. If it's going to run into the tree and it's all mass and muscle and it's in the flesh, it's going to get knocked out. Or it's going to knock the tree down. One of the two. But if it's going through the tree, then what is it? If it's going through the tree, that's why you put it to the test. Now, if it's something in the flesh and it's grabbing stuff, throwing it at you, banging in your car, you see or hit you in the windshield and the windshield breaks. Well, you got a weapon, well, let it rip, you know, because then it might be something that might be in the flesh, right? But of what I've witnessed is more of something that feeds off your fear. If you have hatred, anger, vengeance, it feeds off of that. That's what I've witnessed. But I haven't ran into one. I've seen the manifestation of how they look because it showed themselves to me, but they disappear when I go into prayer. They vanish, or I say the Our Father, or I say I talk about the American Jesus Christ. They vanish. They disappear. So why would they disappear? Why would they vanish? Is the bigger question. By just me merely saying a prayer, or saying a talk about the because I think it's dealing with they know that's they're gonna not gonna be able to deceive me if no matter the manifestation they take because I'm gonna be able to. I think it breaks his cloak, right? I guess I could say that. If Hitler experimented with demonic, I'm not gonna say demonic DNA, but something in nature that he might have summoned something, right, from the spiritual realm to be the super soldier. Like gypsies say that they summon things that they say that it becomes a werewolf, right? Because it's a spirit that is summoned, which would be most likely demonic. But then that's why, to me, that's why they disappear is when you type on a Rican Jesus Christ name or you because they're demonic in nature. They're really they look beastly. I mean, freaking huge, like 9 foot, 10 foot tall, full of muscle. But then when you type on a Rican Jesus Christ and disappears, you're like, well, what is it? That's vanishing when you why would it vanish that way? But then when you look to Jesus Christ, when the legion knew who he was, when they had the man possessed, and he said they didn't want to go back to the location, and he sent them into the herd of pigs. Now that makes sense right there, because that's what they are, which will be demonic demons.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Have they captured? I don't think to this day anybody has ever captured any cryptids. They see these things, but there's no evidence of any capture of a cryptid or that's captured in captivity, whether it be a Bigfoot, a dogman, a goatman, what do you call it? The other one, the Jersey's devil or Mothman. You figure that if there's one of them, they're going to have kids, or there's a pack of them or something like that. I don't
There's
think nobody's
one
ever.
instance of
Mhm.
um, alien contact, and this guy, uh, Jonathan Reed, actually have
Jonathan
a
Reed,
book. I have this book here. It's called Link, an Extraterrestrial
Link.
Oddity. This happened in the 90s, I believe, but it's the only account that I know of that feels genuine. That he found this, it was like a black diamond shaped craft that was matte black and that was floating in the middle of the forest. He, the, he captured an extraterrestrial essentially. And then he put it in uh, his like freezer back at home, and then eventually the thing escaped through the wall. Like it just dematerialized and went through the wall. But he had time to like videotape it with like a high 8 video camera, so like 480p and just a small digital cassette tape. But I'll be talking about that story on my channel
Yeah,
here
yeah,
soon.
yeah.
But that's the only
Yeah,
instance I've heard of where somebody's actually captured a body. I mean, there's a few other stories of people capturing
yeah,
Bigfoot or
yeah,
parts
we
of
heard the
Bigfoot.
stories, right? We've heard those stories of somebody killing a Bigfoot, somebody killing a dog man, and they show a weapon, but there's no body. I was in the military. In order to have a confirmed kill, got to have a body, you know, or a picture or something, right? You hear those incidents, and then you hear the other ones where people they say they killed a Nephilim.
Yeah,
The military killed Nephilim and all this stuff. It's like I was in the military. Like, trust me, I have people that work still in the government. I would have heard about it by now.
the
So
Nephilim,
that's
like those,
the
they were.
Gondar. I think they call it the Gondar giant. Trust me, I have a friend of mine that was in my tank. He was my loader. He works for this high tech. He's the one that provides high tech weapons, just put it that way, to the Navy SEALs and to all those people, I would have heard about it by now, and I haven't heard nothing. But at the same time, he does keep things in secrecy. But I would have heard something about it by now, whether it was him or my my brother-in-law that used to work for 3 Corps on Fort Hood. He would have told me something when that happened. The Gondar Giant. I never heard nothing of it. You know, I would hear a lot of things, but I never heard nothing about the Gondar Giant, that somebody killed him or anything like that. In which he questions the story. What are those stories when somebody say, "Okay, let's create a story and see how many people believe the story"? Is it like pasta something?
Creepy
Where,
pasta. Yeah.
yeah, freaky pasta, that they'll create something. I've seen something like that. That creation of where there were some soldiers because they were getting a call. There was a squad that was missing, and they got a call to go investigate, to follow the beacon. So they followed the beacon, and it went into a cave. And when they went into the cave, it was three of them. One of them fell somewhere, so they were trying to get him out of the cave, and then he was screaming that something was down there with him. And then this other guy went in there and he was trying to help him, and he got taken down there by something, and then next thing you know, there was only an NCO left, and you could hear all the screaming. And when he was taken out, he was running, something attacked him, but he made it out of the cave. Next thing you know, he's in the hospital and he's all bitten up all over the body. Something about a giant bat. That's creepy pasta for you,
Yeah.
because that's what it was. I'm just letting you know how realistic it can sound, but it's creepy pasta because it was a made up story that somebody made. Yeah, I'm just saying, be careful what you. Not unless the person has some evidence or something. I mean, like it'll be like bullshit. Excuse my language. Here's the bite marks. He's showing him the bite marks all over his body. I said, okay. Well, then it wasn't a BS story because he got the bite marks from the bats.
I
Yeah,
think both of
if
us
he's got
are
the
on
marks.
the we're at the understanding that a lot of these unclean spirits are actual. They're the spirits of the Nephilim that have already fallen, which is why we
Yes.
can't find any bodies of the Nephilim today. And a lot of them, they've become part of the landscape. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot.
They roam Earth because they can't go to heaven. They can go to hell because they're created by the Watchers. So the only thing they can do, since they're in spirit, unclean spirit form, is possess people. So this, if you paid attention to the riots from the elections
Yeah,
and the Black Lives Matters, and you see all these people pissed off and angry,
there's
well, that
black
wasn't the
clouds
people.
going through the crowds. There's like a black cloud.
That's
Yeah,
that's the Nephilim. Maybe we can you can do some research on that, brother. When
I'll pull
those
it up.
black riots are happening.
We could show some of that the next time you're on here, along with some of the footage that you found. Like I'm making notes of all of this, but yeah, the crowd
Yeah, pay
footage,
attention.
that
I,
was wild.
I've seen them out there in combat. The Nephilim, and the Muslim world, they call them the Jinn or the Jinn, but it's the same one because I recognize, I crossed them over there. I seen the activity, the things that it's kind of like they knew me, my love foundation. So they tried to come and mess with me out there also when I was out there. The two times I went out during Operation Desert Storm, and when I went back in '95. So yeah, the Nephilim are very mischievous. They're pissed off because uh, they will never make it into the heaven, and they dislike us because you remember when they were when they did have a body, they were destroying all of God's creation,
Hmm.
right? All of God's creation, animals and everything, people. That's why they got destroyed, and now they're still pissed off because they're just in disembodied form. They don't got a body no more to cause all the chaos and havoc. So they're causing the chaos and havoc differently by attaching themselves and possessing people. And this, if you're a person that has vengeance, hatred, or you have a forgiveness, or you have a vendetta against somebody, I would say, uh, let it go.
Yeah.
Forgive the individual because those things, disembodied up the DDN. That's what's waiting. Always waiting for the opportunity to attack because it likes chaos and division. There's an opening it uses to attack people.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah. I
Well,
know sometimes I get tested and I go out of character sometimes on my life because I get trolled and all this, and I let my opinion say, but then I say, you know what, I need to stop doing that because that could be an opening.
yeah,
So
they're trying to
when you
derail. They're like I've actually witnessed it myself. You have people that try to distract you from what you're talking about on your live streams, and that could be the only goal of it to try to get you off track of what you're talking about because they don't like it.
yeah, because they're dabbling in something else, they're believing in something else. When they set their mind just to target somebody and just says talk bad about them and all that is because that's what their true nature is. That's what they're about.
One thing
That's one of
that
the reasons that. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, one of the instances I recall from it's like about a month ago now, but you had a troll in the chat and you actually started praying for this
Oh yeah,
individual and they said that you don't have permission to pray for them.
yeah,
And then after that they their guard, like their anger, all of that kind of dropped away and they were like, "Oh, no, I have something wrong going on like in my
yeah,
personal
yeah,
life." Like they actually admitted that like there was something going on after you prayed, and then like you had to let them go obviously because they were still trying to stir trouble up. But
yeah,
ultimately, like that was something you needed to do in order to help that other person, and they were able to come to terms with what was happening instead of projecting all of like that negativity out onto you and your chat and all your
yeah,
viewers.
yeah, yeah,
You were able to rein that in just by the power of prayer alone.
yeah, brother. Perk, because they're always trying to find an opening, and they're going to use anybody they can use to come up against you, and that's something that it's been like that all my life, but I'm used to it, been fighting spiritually for a very long time. But you witness the things, that happen.
Yeah, and I do think it is these these entities that are possessing others' bodies and controlling their decisions essentially. So that's why they get upset often. And
I lost a family member, brother, like a couple of months ago due to that. They took their own life, man. That's why I took a little break and everything. Uh, my brother's daughter, you know,
yeah,
lost her to the balance. Yeah, it's just crazy, man, when you lose a family member or loved one dealing to the balance. You know, uh, if anybody is going through something, or they don't understand what they're going through, you need to talk to your loved ones because we do care, we do love you. You don't have to keep it inside. You can let us know what you're going through. So that's why I took a little break.
yeah, I know it's rough, and you've shared it on your channel too. But I'm glad that you're back to doing shows like almost every day, every night. You have a
Yeah,
live stream
I
going.
spent a lot of time trying to be there for my brother. Uh, can I use the restroom real quick, brother?
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And I'll be right
will.
back.
Yep.
Okay.
So what do you guys think? We'll have Abe on for a little longer today. We were gonna go 90 minutes, and we're almost at 2 hours, which is kind of cool. But I know Abe has his show going on around 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock. It's almost 8 Central Time here. So it's no, it's good. I'm just seeking the truth here. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to know what. Abe is very knowledgeable on the things that he's sharing here with us today. And he'll be back, so he's just taking a bathroom break. But yeah, when he gets back, we'll talk about a few more things before we let him go and end the show for today. And yeah, Zen, I'll bring up your question too when he gets back. And actually, I'll answer part of it right now. There seems to be a connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. There's been instances where alien grays are seen at the same time as Bigfoot and crafts. There's a lot of interdimensional beings that we're interacting with in those situations, and some of them can just be presenting themselves as those things, but they really are just the unclean spirits trying to take forms of stuff. And I was going to bring this up earlier, but imagine this kind of like a video game where you have like a character that you could buy different clothes or skins for, and these entities just have different skin upgrades. They're different from entity to entity. So one of them might know how to present itself as the Dogman, werewolf, UFOs, the alien grays. Other ones can show themselves as other creatures like the flying bat entities. There's a lot of those things being sighted here in Chicago. And Abe's back here, so just give me a second. We'll bring him back on. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, brother.
Awesome. Yeah, so we had a question in the chat while you were away. They asked, Abe, is there a UFO connection to these cryptids?
Man, the connection between all that to me, you think about it, when you see a UFO, it's a light or kind of orb-like, right? Lucifer, the morning star. He's called the angel of light. He's called many things. It's a part of the manifestations. If you notice, there's sometimes when they see a UFO, there's always a Bigfoot, a Dogman, Hat Man, shadow figures being spotted at the same time, all at once.
Yes.
There are many. So there's different manifestations that they take. I'll say it again. If you see a UFO or an orb-like thing that looks like you're nearby, alien, gray, whatever, put it to the test. Reptilian. Tie banner, rebuke it in Jesus Christ's name and see what happens. If it disappears and vanishes, then they already know that it was a demon in disguise, that it was manifesting to look like that. Because what they're seeking for is the power of belief. They want you to believe that what you're seeing is real. So if you're believing in it, then that's the opening to use us to attack. So you just got to be very careful, because I've seen what's unidentified flying objects in the military. I've seen them when I was a kid. I've seen them out there when I was in training, but they would do the figure 8, and I would start praying. And when I start praying, they take off, and we were like, what is that we're seeing? Me and my TC, trying to figure out what we're seeing out there while we're training, but we just left that alone. We didn't try to talk about it too much or tell anybody about it. Just gotta, put it to the test. Yeah, they're very. They know your spirit. They know what's in your mind, so they could do many things of that nature to deceive you.
I think that explains it, like, as well as we can up to this point, because there are UFO sightings that are documented in newspapers like 120 years ago, where they see these flying dirigibles, but they call them UFOs. And then there's also UFOs that appeared in, I know over here in Niles there was one report in a very old newspaper of a craft in the sky looking like in the shape of a teardrop, and that was the only account of it. Nobody ever really reported anything like
Didn't
that
they?
again.
They used to have those agricultural things where there was like markings on the cornfields.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other topic. Those are actually 3D energy fields, from what I understand.
Yeah,
Like we're just
they have
seeing that
markings
2D layer,
on the
but it's
cornfield
actually
on the yeah. But then you think about it, then you had the same markings over there in Peru
the Nazca
where
lines. Yeah.
the lines that people will make. Yeah.
And they're so large you can't see them off just standing on the ground. You have to be up in the air to see all of those things.
I'll give an example of how tricky they could be. I was a kid playing in my backyard, and I hear somebody calling my name. I'm like 7 years old, and I hear somebody calling my name, and I'm looking to see who's calling me, but there's nobody there. I don't see. I just see the fence. I see a log on the ground, and then as I'm playing, I hear somebody call my name again, and I look, and this time I see this big cricket, black cricket, sitting on the log. The log is pretty long, and it's as long as the log. It's sitting on the log, and it's telling me to go to it. So I take one step forward, and I'm like maybe like 8 feet away from it, and it says get a little bit closer. So I start getting a little bit closer, and I'm like 5 feet away from it. Then it said a little bit closer. And when it says a little bit closer, I hear my grandmother's voice yell and say, "Get away from that. That's the devil." That's what she said. So when I looked back to what was there, it just disappeared. It was like a puff of white smoke, and it smelled like sulfur. And she told me not to ever get near anything like that, or anything that manifests that's calling your name, because it was a big black giant, a big black cricket. That's the manifestation he had took.
Oh,
So, so I know it's another topic. How many children from the missing 411 cases have been lured into the woods or taken in that form where if you could get close enough, they're able to manifest back into the realm and they take the individual with them. That's
yeah.
another
I'm glad you brought up Missing
topic.
411. David Politis. He does a lot of great coverage on all those different cases.
I'm thinking this what happens. He was trying to get me close enough so when it disappeared, I was going to disappear with it. That's what I believe. He was trying to get me that close to it. But my grandmother told me it was a devil. That it was, that she seen when it vanished and everything. But my grandmother was already real old. She was like 78, so up there in age. Would that happen? I will witness a lot of strange activity like that. But to me, that's why I say to you, that was a giant. That was a giant black cricket. I said, well, maybe it's prehistoric. No, it was demonic because it vanished, it disappeared, and it smelled like sulfur.
It's
I
just thought
mean,
it's showing itself to you like that would get your interest to walk up to it, and so it could siphon your energy and or take you away, like these Missing 411 stories are.
or change form right in front of me, and that's it. I'm a goner. Imagine how many children have disappeared in that manner. That's that. Imagine being walking on a natural trail walk, and you're walking, and you hear, for those that are married, your hubby calling you, and you're looking at him, and he's like, "Come over here." He's down off the path, and he's supposed to be ahead of you or something, or behind you, and you go towards the path, and he's keep on telling you to come on, and you're walking. Then you hear your husband calling you from behind, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Then you look, and what was calling you to the woods is not there no more. You walk back, and your husband is there in the flesh. So what was calling you into the woods that looked like your husband? And that's what people call a double hanger, but to me, it's not a double hanger. It's this shape that your skinwalker DDN that manifest to try to lure you away. One thing is that they can lure you into a location that you get lost. Then to try to find your way out of there is another thing, because if you don't got a map or coordinates, how are you going to get out of there?
Yeah.
You get lost. Your body can only be without food and water for a short period of time. So yeah, you got to be careful. So they're calling your name, trying to lure you into the woods. That's things like that have happened to me before. And one was calling me into the creek at nighttime, trying to pretend he was my friend. My friend had barely gotten married and moved to Pennsylvania. And I'm sitting on the picnic table. I had barely hung up the phone for her, saying that they had made it home to Pennsylvania. And then I hear her calling me from the creek. They're like, there's no way. And so I'm ignoring that it was her. And then she's like, hey, she said my name, Abe, come here. Come here. It's calling me to the creek. Then I said, I'm ignoring it. And then it went from her voice to one of her daughter's voice telling me to come here. And then it went from that daughter's voice to one of her other daughter's voice calling me to go to the woods or into the creek. So I got up from the picnic table. I ignored them, didn't give her the power to leave, and I just walked home, did the sign of the cross, said a prayer all the way to the house. But I did not go into the woods. That's the kind of activity that's here in Central Texas. The shapeshifter skinwalkers, they have those capabilities. I've seen it where they do the rock formation, the circle round formations, the banging of the rocks. I've heard it where they've banging of the trees. Uh, there was an incident where someone talking about Bigfoots, where some of the symptoms of some of the signs of what Bigfoots do. I had a friend that couldn't see at night, and she had to walk her dog. So her husband was in the military and told me if I could help her. So yeah, no problem, because he had gotten deployed. So one day she called me and she was scared. I said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I think something's out here. It scared me and my dog, and it threw something, a chunk of wood, to my mobile home." So I go over there to investigate, and there's a big old chunk of wood stuck in the wall. It was pretty big chunk of wood stuck in the wall. She said he came up flying out of the woods. So I'm looking at this chunk of wood, and I see the dog. The dog's all scared, and her dog was a pretty big dog. The dog was scared. So I go to the edge of the woods, and I said, if there's something here that threw this piece of wood, identify yourself. And I start praying, but nothing shows itself. I didn't hear no growls or nothing. She said that she was hearing growling, like something was growling, like something was mad and was hitting the tree. I guess it was mad because she might have been having her dog out there to urinate or something, and maybe no, for those that believe that the cryptids are 100% flesh, maybe he got mad because the dog was marking his territory, so he took offense to that. I don't know, but there was a big chunk of wood stuck in her mobile home. By the bedroom, it was like a big old chunk of wood. I was like, "Huh?" That was a good. I say from where our mobile home was to that tree line, there was a good 60 yards. So something chunked the wood like 60 yards, and it punched through a wall.
Yeah, and I've heard
That's
of
crazy.
the skinwalkers as well as the Bigfoot being able to rip trees out of the ground and throw them almost like spears.
Yeah.
And whether they're like, I'm under the impression that they're not physical entities, but they can present themselves as such. Because like you said, how did that piece of wood end up in there? I'm thinking they have partial capabilities to interact with the physical matter around us, but it's only in like fleeting moments, and then it's
Yep.
gone.
Using the elements like an elemental, I believe it was using the elements, to manifest. Use a tree, Mother Nature itself, to build itself a body to be able to lift that and chunk it.
Yeah.
Had to be created out of Mother Nature. You hear that from native folklore dealing with curses, where they there's one a story of the one. When I was investigating Elm Scroll, I was reading this. I was at the library and I was reading this. I was looking for to find information of the area. So there was a story about this soldier that it was when the cav was in horse regiments. They had the natives here, the Tankawa. They call them dirty Indians because they were just meat eaters. They didn't believe in agriculture, nothing like that. But they were like the scouts for the cav. So they used them to capture two Cherokees that were wanted, and the cav soldier was looking for the soldier. I think there was one Cherokee they captured, and he was looking for the two Tanka ones. So and the prisoner. So he was looking for them, and when he went to go find them, they were cannibalizing the prisoner, like because they were cannibalistic. They're cannibals. So, they cannibalized them or whatever, and basically, I believe that's how a lot of the skinwalkers from Central Texas come from those natives. Where it's not just shaped skinwalkers, but also Wendigos because they cannibalize. But that's what they were known for. The Cherokees, I think the Cherokees and the Comanches had united and came after them, and they were killing them all. But the army intervened because they used to work with the army and they stopped the slaughter, but they killed a lot of them off. So the governor from Texas sent them to Oklahoma. He sent them to Oklahoma, and they started doing the same thing over there. They started cannibalizing people in Oklahoma. So the governor from Oklahoma sent them back to Texas, and they sent them back to Texas. They came for them again. I mean, because this natives killed people's brothers and sisters and husbands and wives because they were cannibalistic. So they started killing them, and the government intervened one more time, and they moved them to Phoenix, to New Mexico and Arizona area. That's the last place they moved to. So basically, what I'm saying to y'all is, there's one thing that all these locations have: Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. A lot of shapeshifter skinwalker sightings, which I believe is dealing with those natives, which is called the Tonkawa natives. But what they would do when they were being killed, instead of dying in the hands of the natives that were killing them, the families would form a circle, holding hands, and the father will come and slice the wrist of each family member, including his. So they will bleed to death. They would do this ritual overnight. So they would bleed to death in a circle, making a circle formation. So when the sun would rise, out of the center of the circle, the one would rise. That's what they would call him, the one. The one was kind of like a demigod, dark shadow figure. They would rise from the center. The capabilities it had was to be able to manifest with Mother Nature itself, with the elements. So that's another one that nobody really talks about is, what if it's something in that nature, a curse on some of these lands where something like that is still there, waiting to how should I say, to fulfill is whatever it was called upon to, and which is still doing that in some of these areas throughout Texas or Oklahoma or New Mexico and Arizona,
I'd say fulfill
because
its
it's a curse.
summoning.
Yeah, a summoning. And when you hear about cars accidents and all that, it could be part of that. That's what it does.
We have two questions, and then I want to let you go here. and we'll close with a prayer too before you go. But first question from Big Island Beach is, how did I get hooked up with you, Abe? So I'll answer that. I found Abe through Brenda from Beyond the Box, and she had been watching Abe's show after we'd have our Beyond the Box shows, and just one day I decided to tune in and search you up, and I really enjoyed what you were covering and all the stories you were sharing. A lot of personal stories, and as well as the photos and the videos that you have of these entities, and it's always just a really good stream. Like the vibes are good. You have a good crowd that is there with you all the time. So that's how I found Abe, and eventually he was having open mic nights. So I've been on a few
Yeah.
of those now as well, where like we've done 2-3 hour streams.
Tuesdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays we have open mic night for anybody who would like to share their encounter. Doesn't matter what it is, whatever you're going through. We're aimed to help people. Whether give advice and stuff like that to whatever you're going through. And I do my lives at nighttime because most of the time, a lot of people get spiritually attacked when they sleep, right? Sleep paralysis, night terrors, and succubus, incubus attack at night. So if people wake up from having an encounter like that, well, they look into YouTube and they're up. Well, I'm there. I'm up late at night. So you want to jump on and tell me what you happened? We'll go into prayer. We pray, we tie bind and rebuke, whatever you were dreaming or whatever you've seen, we tie bind and rebuke it in Jesus Christ's name. And I notice there's some people don't like that because there's other people that believe in other things. So, but we're aimed to help out people. That's is to help out my brothers and sisters. Try to awaken my brothers and sisters spiritually. That's my main mission that was given to me. I'm just following my spiritual orders. That's all.
Excellent. And we have one last question. It's from Zen. He asks, entities and or interdimensionals, are they the same thing or are they different?
Well, they know how to manipulate time. They know how to manipulate space. They're tricksters. It's all of the same, I believe. Interdimensional, uh, whether it's what do you call it? They're second dimensional, third dimensional, fourth dimensional, and of course, if you really look up into the sky, sometimes you'll see other beings that are way up there in the sky. If you really look spiritually, you're able to see these giant beings up there that looks like big dragonflies that are up there, but they look like spaceships. Or are they? Or are they? Or we're seeing another, like we got the present. I mean, we got the past, the present, and the future. Or is it something that's the past meaning with a present? Is it going to collide? Because of what I've witnessed, I've seen this giant butterfly, not butterfly. What do you call them? Dragonfly, like dragonfly spaceships up in the sky, and they're just up there, way up there in the sky. And I'm looking at them like, what is that? And then next thing you know, you don't see it no more. But maybe one day that if I do see it, I'll capture, because I've captured portals opening and beings coming out of the portals, and they're there for what, good 1 second, 2 seconds, and next boom, the portal disappears and they disappear. So I believe it's all of the same, man. That they use everything that's here to their advantage.
I'll
When you
follow up
think
on
of
that.
things,
Like,
go ahead, brother.
so I think Zen's trying to understand, are any of these things taking on physical manifestations, or is it all the spiritual realm? Like, are they coming in
Uh,
from a parallel timeline in a physical form, or is this just all different levels of spiritual awareness and cleanliness and all of that? Like that's
There,
where I'm at with
it's
all of this. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
answer.
it's man. I believe is dealing with the same. There's different. I know in the comic books, it's what do they call it in the comic books? Where there's the different worlds, but it's the same people.
Yeah,
Is it dimensions or what is it called? Parallel universe,
yeah, like the multiverse. Yeah.
multiverse,
Hmm.
multiverse. Kind of like when people talk about doppelganger, the thing is they're coming from a multiverse. I believe that it's all of the same, because everything is predestined. That everything, the past and the present, is kind of like sometimes you have a dream, might be from the past. Sometimes you might have a dream, it's from the future. And when you went up in the location that you dreamt about, you're like, I've been here before, and I already know what to do. Or sometimes you have to do the opposite. Depends on what the situation is. But I believe they're all affiliated because it's a time. Doesn't matter if it's interdimensional or not. It's about time and space.
Hmm.
So a lot of things can happen within time and space. I think there's time warps where it repeats itself. Certain areas that you can walk on Earth, and you get stuck in there. And I have a video where I'm stuck in something like that, and I'm repeating myself and going through the same location like 4 or 5 times. I got it on video, and I lost the track of time because I knew I walked the whole path, but it's not showing me on video that I walked through the whole path. And in certain locations, I'm repeating myself like 4 or 5 times, kind of like a time warp, you know. And sometimes it takes a lot of energy out of you. That it feels like you're backed out in time, and everything is up here. You're trying to reach back to normal time, but you're behind. You're trying to catch up to what's in front of you, or sometimes it feels that you're too far in the front and you're trying to get back to normal time, right? Because it's sending you into a time warp. Um, it's happened to me, and there's just a lot of things that exist that is unexplainable, but I believe it has to do with time and space. Um, there was a demon that I seen one time when I was a kid that I was following. I was told not to follow, and the reason I knew it was a demon is because his leg he had a goat leg, and I was told to stay away from because it was in the form of a man. I seen, imagine the scenery. There was a gap that opened up. He went into that gap, and it was dark where he went into, and then the scenery closed, and you hear like a loud boom, like if something broke the time barrier, but he disappeared, and time was normal. The city was normal. He literally ripped a gap in the timeline. That it opened up a gap, went through the gap, and then it closed, and everything was back to normal. So I went look into where he disappeared. I went around I thought he was hiding behind this little house that was there, but I couldn't find him. So imagine that, beings that have the capability of manipulating time like that they're able to appear and disappear in the blink of an eye, like that. Uh, what do you think that would be, brother? That would be considered as? Do you think would they be considered demonic or time travelers or something that is able to control time? Or you think there's something higher? Is it a matrix? So we can go into a lot of things. But this happened to me when this man came knocking on my grandmother's door. And he said, as a woman of the house here, I never seen this man before. I was eating this Mexican, it's called capirutada. It's like raisins with bread and apples, pecans and stuff like that. And I want to go see who it was, and I said, my grandma was already old. And I said, "There's a man here." She comes walking, and he looks at her, and he says, "Are you going to let me in?" The way he said is with his voice, "Are you going to let me in?" Real like loud, like real like he was mad. So my grandmother took like 3 steps back, like she was afraid, and then she said, "Oh yeah, yes, come on in, come on in." So I opened the door for him. He came in. This was on a Sunday afternoon, and he went and sat down on a chair on a kitchen table. So he's there, and he's telling this is what he's telling her. I call this guy the time collector or the soul collector. He comes and tells her that her time here on Earth is over. That he's there to collect her soul. This is what he's telling her, and I'm listening to this, and then she's like, "Look, I made your favorite dish." I was like, "Why is he?" I never seen this man before in my life, and I've been living. Me and our house was right beside each other, so she gives him the whole bowl of the fruit thing that she made with the bread, and he starts eating it like a dog, like no spoon, just put his head in the bowl, eating like a dog. And I see that his right leg, he's got like gnats flying around his leg, and he keeps on kicking his leg like a twitch, And I mean, what's the matter with this guy? So I go underneath. This is in the 70s, like 78. I crawl underneath, and when I lift the pant leg, you could see the goat leg or beastly leg, and he kicks me, and I slide out of there real fast, and I get up, and he stands up. By the time he stands up, the bowl's just flipping around, and it's empty. And he looks at me, and he said, "I'm going to take him." He's pointing at my grandma. Said he's going to take me, and my grandmother saying, "No, no." And then he said, "If not him, who?" Uh, my grandmother said my uncle's name. Then he looks at her and he tells her, "I'll be back in a year, and there's no more deals." That's what he said. That's the only reason I followed him, because I was trying to find out who it was. What the hell was this thing that had the leg of an animal, of a goat or whatever, a beastly leg, and then he just vanished like that. The space opened, then it closed when it disappeared. Went through there. But if he's dealing with her soul, it has to be some kind of demon or some deal was made of some sort. That's why it's very confusing when it comes down to when you're placing UFOs and this, but because the same things that I've heard of people that talk about UFOs and the grays and all that, I've seen it through the demons, the activity that the demons do. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So what happened? 2 weeks later, my uncle, the name she said, saying that there's a man coming to their porch at nighttime, and that he's walking with boots. You can hear the boots stomping on his porch. Well, that uncle got spiritually attacked, and it wasn't boots that he was hearing; it was the hoofs that he was hearing. He got demonically attacked, and we had to pray for him and all kinds of things. That finally the demon or unclean spirit flew out of him, and it went out the window. It ripped the whole screen. The screens were big. It just ripped the screen because we're all praying, and we're praying, telling it to leave him alone. And he finally left him alone. But it was the same demon, I believe, that she said the name too. That she gave him permission to attack her next of kin. That's where generational curses come from. But when you're a kid, you just place it together and you figure it out, because it's like solving a puzzle, right? It reveals itself to you. So I'm just sharing this story with y'all. But and there's many more stories. So, maybe one day we'll do it again. What is it, brother? Can you hear me, brother? I don't think I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all
Yeah, I
right.
do. I do want to have you on again, and I can't even answer the question that you asked from what we were saying. If like, what do we think about these like portals opening and closing. It's like I can't understand. I can't wrap my head around it right now. I'm for everything that I'm researching, those are still questions that are fuzzy to me.
Yeah.
Are they people visiting us from the future or past? No idea. No idea yet, but I know for sure that there's something weird going on in certain spots, and it seems like activities heavier in certain areas, and they do happen to fall upon a grid. And uh, as far as like if we're dealing with
I'm sorry that I throw it out there, but when you go through it, you remember it, you speak about it.
no, I'm glad
Um,
you shared it. Yeah, because it's I do want to have you on again. Like, we could talk about this all day if we want to, but I know
well, I have
you have.
so many stories about a lot of things, but I know you're working with a time limit, brother. I just want to say thank you, brother, for having me on the show, and thank you for the viewers that are tuning in and asking questions. You
Yeah,
know,
we had 62 people come through here tonight,
wow.
according to YouTube. So that's pretty high for this channel. So I really appreciate you being here, and I'm sure my viewers that are seeing you for the first time, they're gonna check you out, give your channel a follow, and I'll be in the chat when you go live later tonight on your channel, because I do want to see
All
the
right,
new
brother.
stuff. And before you go, I want to just say a prayer.
Okay.
So thank you, Heavenly Father Creator, for granting us this opportunity and this time to share our stories here tonight, and having Abe on with us. It was a very special time. So thank you for allowing this to happen, and we ask for your continued protection and guidance going forward as we explore these different topics and as we share these stories, that we have protection from you, Father Creator. And in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray for protection of everyone else that's here watching and participating here with us, that uh, they all have your protection. Amen.
Amen.
So yeah, thank you, Abe. I'll let you go. I know
You're
I
welcome,
said
brother.
only 90
Anytime, man.
minutes. We're here 2 hours 20 minutes, so it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know you have your show to do, so I don't want to keep you too long here.
Yeah. How long do you normally do your lives for, brother?
It depends. It just depends on the topic. If everything's rolling really well, then I just keep
Yeah.
going. I did a 5.5 hour live stream like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was just myself on here talking. So it just depends on the just the content, really.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can go. You know me. I can go speak, but I know you was trying to do stay within a certain time frame. So you said we're winning for 2 hours.
Yeah, we're on 2 hours and 23 minutes right now.
Oh wow.
So the time flew
So
by.
what do people think about the story if they're still here tuning in? Of what I just said to you about my grandmother.
They were shocked by
Yeah,
the hooves. That
man, and that's nothing. That's nothing because there's a lot of things that happen after that. So we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have the chat going through, uh, either talking to themselves or saying, "Oh, like that was a spooky story."
Yeah,
Like when you were talking about the Ouija boards, I think. But yeah,
yeah, because
eventually I'll have the chat up on the screen here. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but I'll get
yeah, because
there.
I could still go if you want to, brother, or you want to call it. We'll call it. You know, but yeah, it's just when you go through something, you remember it. You remember like it was yesterday. So I don't have to read, look into my notes or nothing because it's something that happened. So when it's something that happened, you're just gonna say it, but just say it with the flow because you remember what you went through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have anything else to share for tonight, we can end it. But so
Uh,
I'll leave it up to you.
Well, I can share something else dealing with what happened. My uncle he did get, besides the thing that he was being spiritually attacked a certain way, he got beat up by that man, but he was not in the form of the man. He was in the form of the face of the man, but the body was of a beast. Like what do you call it? But he had four legs. Uh, Not like the goat man. What is the one that had the part beast
The
and the part? Yeah,
Baphomet
he was in that form. And
or Baal.
the only thing I remember that evening when he got attacked is there was getting hit by something. And he was flying up in the air like 4 or 5 feet, but nobody could see what was hitting him. We thought that that he was just him doing that, but then he kept on getting hit, and the same thing. He was getting like run over and everything, by something. And then I prayed to God to show me what's doing this, and He showed me, and that's what I witnessed. I seen him. It was the face of the same man, but it was in beast form, like beastly form,
Oh,
that was attacking my uncle, and I tried to push it, but how are you going to push something that's in disembodied form? And I was telling it to leave him alone, and it didn't want to leave him alone. It was like pissed off, real angry, and just attacking my uncle. And after that attack, is when my uncle got possessed by it, in which we had to pray. And my uncle still lives. He's a Christian and everything. And I told him what happened, and he just put his head down because that was his own mother, my grandma, that sent it his way. But I told him that I remember how he looked, and he said, yeah, because I guess he could see it, what was attacking him. He just, sometimes when something takes control, a person. I think the spiritual opening my uncle had was that he was always out there womanizing, and he was violent with my aunt. So that's the opening to use to attack him.
yeah.
But yeah, that followed. Uh, just put it this way: joined the military. My grandmother passed away in 1979. This is 1989. I'm in a foreign country, and I'm in a bar. I'm gonna go to this bar called Cheers, right? So I open the doors. It's like around 10 at night, and it's the same scenery. Smoke comes out, and you see nothing but drunk GIs. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel like drinking tonight, so I'm just gonna go buy me a pizza at the village. So I close the door. When I close the door, I turn around. There's a man standing behind me. He's got a hat. He's got like a black cape. Not black cape. Like a tannish cape, and he's got a cane and an umbrella, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. I said, how you doing, sir?" And he looks at me. The first thing he says is that he knows who I am, that he knows my grandmother and grandfather. So I'm looking at him, and I was like, he's talking with an accent, German. I don't know if it's a German accent or a some kind of accent, and I was like, how do you, if you know them, what's their names? He said their full name, and even middle names, on both of my grandmother and grandfather. I was like trying to figure out who this guy is. He's an older man, and I'm looking at him. It's like there's no way you can know my grandmother and grandfather. I'm in a foreign country. In my mind, that's what I'm saying to myself. There's no way. And then he's like, I asked him, where am I from? He said, where I'm from in the United States, the location, the town. Then, without even asking him, he named my mother, my father, and all my brothers and sisters. When he said that, I just like look at him and turned to the right and walked away. I didn't want to know what that was all about. Sometimes when you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't want to ask questions or what the deal is. I didn't want to know nothing about it, so I just left the man standing there on the road, And then he was trying to tell me, "Do you want to know more?" And I just walked away from him because to me, I don't think he was angelic. I think he was demonic because when he mentioned my grandmother and grandfather, which that's what demons do. They travel through from generation to generation, like generational curse. You know. But yeah, that was weird. And I'm in a foreign country. He knew everything about me. That's it's not like I was a high-ranking person. I was only at that time I was only a private. You know, it was a private. I was a private in the military, so he knew everything about me without even. So to me, I felt there was something in that nature. Two things: either demonic, or since I'm in a foreign country, and I would say the other being that's a kind of like a legend of some sort, and maybe it's creepypasta legend, Nosferatu,
Yeah.
because Nosferatu can read minds. They can read your mind. They can read your spirit, and they know things about you without you even knowing them because that's what they do. Kind of like a brujo or a brujo. But I didn't want to find out about it. But that's just an experience how it followed me from what I witnessed. And then I'm in a foreign country, so when that happened, it's like I was like, my life is never going to be normal. It's always going to be different than everybody else.
It's also because of the energy that you have and that they recognize that these other
Yeah,
beings and
yeah.
entities. Yeah. All
I
right.
just wanted to share that with you.
No, thank you for sharing it. Like I said, I
And
was.
this happened in Erlangen, Germany, which was my first duty station when I left from basic training to Europe. It was Erlangen, Germany. Erlangen, that's the name where it happened. The location was this little bar called Cheers.
Oh, like the Boston one.
Yeah. So I did have another encounter after that with two other entities. I went back 2 weeks later because I was kind of freaked out of what happened. I went 2 weeks later, and I was looking to see if I see that guy again. But I didn't. So I went this time. I did stay in the bar and I drank some. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave early. I'm going to leave at 1 o'clock because they close at 2. So I went outside and I got fresh air and I'm just looking around and I see somebody in the park that's in front of the bar. There's a park and they're walking. It looks like they have an eye gun on and they're walking. It's a female and they're getting closer and closer. She looks very pale from the face. And this robe or this nightgown that she has is see through. You can see everything. She comes up to me and she looks at me and she says, "I want you to be with me tonight." And she's looking me in the eyes, telling me this. And I said, "Ma'am, I don't know who you are." And she tells me again, "I want you to be with me tonight." And then she points and there's a room where there's a lamp on. And she said, "That's my room. You're coming with me. You're spending the night with me tonight." I mean, she was very beautiful and everything. And I looked at her and said, "Ma'am, uh, you need to find somebody else because I'm not gonna go with you. I don't know who she was. I'm in a foreign country, and I never thought the wrong way. I always had respect for myself and for others. So she's trying to get me to go with her, and I said, look, there's a lot of GIs there. They can go with you. And she said, no, I want you to come with me. You know, she's talking like weird. You know, so I left her sitting there, and I left. I went back to the billets, but she was barefooted, pale. She had like red lipstick, and it was cold. It was like 10 degrees out there. It was 10 freezing, freezing cold. And she's out there barefooted. At first I thought maybe it's a ghost. But the incident that happened with the gentleman, I said, well, maybe it's an Nosferatu, a female vampire, or succubus or whatever.
Yeah.
So I left that alone, and I stopped going out for a while because of that incident. And I said, okay, it's getting crazy here. Some weird stuff here in Germany. And then I said, maybe it's the beer that was making me see things in this way or whatever. And all the guys were making fun of me because I turned her down. They started calling me a wimp and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, typical stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, the macho guy. So uh, like maybe 3 weeks later, I go to this other bar. I start going to Cheers because too many crazy things happen there. It's like, okay, let me go to this other bar called B15s. So I'm at this other bar, and it's 2 in the morning. There was hardly any people there, so I'm walking. And as I'm walking, I hear like somebody walking behind me, and I look. There's this guy walking behind me. But what's weird about this guy? He's all in black. He has a black cape on. He's got like a white shirt, and he's got a cane and a hat, like one of those top hats. So I see that he's following me. Every I even take different turns just to make sure that he's not following me. Everywhere I turn, he's turning and he's following me, and he's gaining ground because it seems like he's walking faster. And the faster I walk, the faster he's moving. Like he's getting. It's like I'm not getting away from him. He's gaining ground on me. So as I'm walking, I said, "Screw this!" I went to this location that I knew where there's like a water, and I'll wait for him right here because he was like gaining ground on me. He was probably like 30, 40 feet away from me. So I stand around the corner of the building with my guards up, ready to fight him because it felt that he was following me. And he don't come out there. He comes out on the other block over. He looks at me. He stands in the middle of the. It's kind of like a sidewalk, and he's looking at me from the other block. He goes up, goes with his top hat, goes like this, puts it back on, turns around, and walks away. It's kind of like he knew that I was gonna, get in a confrontation with him. And to me, I think that right there, man, Nasfuratu. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only thing I can think of. Or, but like I said, demons can play those kind of games too, you know. But the way he was dressed like from a different time, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Germans dress or whatever, but this is like for a time frame, it was 1989 when I had these things happening over there in Europe. And another thing is when I left there, to my understanding, there's a lot of people that are AWOL that are missing. A lot of soldiers are missing. So they got them down as AWOL, but they've never been able to find them. I'm talking about thousands of soldiers missing all throughout Europe. So only God knows. I know that there's underground tunnels and all kinds of stuff there. I was just happy to come back to the States, you know.
I would say that some of those, if not many of those people that or the soldiers that went missing, they accepted the staying with that barefoot woman for the night, or they let that man with the top hat approach them and maybe even have physical contact, and that would do something very bad to them, for all we know. Zap them out of existence, make them go missing,
Yeah.
so to speak.
So after that, I was like, when I was there, I always had my guards up. If I would go out, I wasn't drinking. I was just looking out for my friends because I didn't want nothing to happen to my friends, you know. Um, I know how many viewers you still got here right now.
Oh, we still got
But I did
a good few. Um,
had an incident with a gypsy woman also. That one was creepy as hell right there. What happened to me, you know? I was at a bar, at the B15 bar. I was talking to this beautiful woman. She was just looked like a model. We were just talking. She was cool with me. I was cool with her, and we were just talking. And the night finished, and I started walking with her, and we were walking, and I walked her to where she lived, and she told me if I wanted to spend the night, I could sleep on her couch. And I said, it's because she said, I know it's still a long ways for you to get to the billets. I said, okay. So I went, I laid down on her couch. I guess she was like one of those apartments that had two rooms. The one room had the living room and the kitchen, and then the other one is the bedroom. So I'm laying on the couch, and next thing you know, she comes to the doorway and she tells me I want to go to sleep in the room, but she's literally in the nude. You know, I was tired, so I stayed with my clothes on and I laid down right beside her, and I dozed off. Uh, I woke up to a sound like a thumping sound, and when I went like this, she wasn't laying there beside me. Um, so I got up and I looked, and I could see the door that goes to the other room where I entered. It was open, and there was somebody sitting Indian style blocking the door, and they had something in their hand. And they're going like this. So when I look, uh, she's got a piece of glass in her hand that's pointy, stabbing the wooden floor, and blood is coming out of her hand. Her eyes are rolled back white, and there's like saliva, like rabies coming out of her mouth, where the eyes roll back white. And like I'm looking for the young lady that invited me there, and all I'm seeing is this old lady that's in the nude, very old and wrinkly. So I'm looking, and I go around her real slow. So I get to the main door, and it's got all kinds of bolts. So I'm trying to unlock, and I'm looking because I don't want the old lady to charge me with the broken mirror. So I'm opening it up and stuff, and I take off running out of there. I ran real fast to the billets that I didn't even go through the main gate. I jumped over the wall. The wall was like 12, 13 foot tall. I jumped over it because I was freaked out at what I witnessed. So a couple of I told my friends what happened. There you go. They're making fun of me again. And the macho thing, and it's like, man, you don't understand. And then we go to this fest called the Strawberry Fest, and we're drinking all night. And they're like, hey, we want to show you something. There's a statue of the strawberry. They call her the Strawberry Fest Witch. It said this is why they do this fest because there's a witch called the Strawberry Fest Witch that every year that they have this fest, that she lures a young guy to where she lives, and she steals his soul to look young, to continue to look young. So when they show me the statue of her, I recognized her.
Oh,
It
wow.
looked like her, and that was the incident of the I call it the Strawberry Fest Witch. Happened to me in Germany. You know, for the little bit of time I had there, I experienced a lot of things, but it follows when you're open up to the spiritual things that are around you. They show themselves. So
Actually, I remember you sharing that on your show a little while back.
yeah,
Like just that the lady that invited you to their house. Then when you woke up, they looked a lot different. And thankfully, you didn't do anything with them. So
yeah, that was her. That she went from a young girl to an old lady. You know, and I'm glad that nothing. I wasn't thinking with the wrong head. That I didn't do nothing with her.
yeah,
I think that's why she was pissed because if I would have done something, I was the opening for her to attack spiritually. Any questions for anybody? And in Germany has a lot of statues of these things in the parks of witches, shadow figures. They have statues within the city of what's his name, Poseidon, and other Greek mythology gods all throughout the city, which they have statues of them.
I'm asking the chat if they have any questions. So we'll answer those if any new ones come in, and then we'll wrap this up for tonight. But
Yes, sir.
oh, this is awesome. I enjoy talking with you and listening to you share these stories. They're firsthand accounts. Like, can't get any better than that. We're not just sitting here speculating about stuff that happened to other people. You're you're sharing personal accounts. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm gonna share some pictures tonight on on my show, Spiritual Cryptid Encounters, of the one that we were making fun of. That there was not just him, but there's two others with him. One of them looks freaked out, man. I'm gonna show him tonight.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, if people that are watching haven't looked at it yet, I have Abe's channel link pinned to the top of the chat, and you could find his live show there from. It'll go live in a few hours from now, right? Probably 10 or 11.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 or 11. But I really appreciate it, brother, for having me on and for the invite. I enjoyed uh, chatting. And whenever we do another one, any topic, man, just whatever you want to talk about, let me know, and I'll go with the flow of things.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, this was more of a general introduction. I wanted to see how it would flow, and I do a lot of these just off the cuff, and I just really enjoy the conversation. So, yeah, we'll structure it because I took a bunch of notes, so
Oh yeah,
we'll have stuff to follow up on and talk about for the next one. And yeah, it doesn't look like any other chat questions are coming in, so I'm gonna let you go. And just I wish you well. I hope you have a good show tonight. And if you want to hang out in the backstage while I sign off here, and I'll give you a formal goodbye off screen.
alrighty,
You can
brother.
do that too. Awesome. All right. Well, I hope to have you on again soon, and
Yes, sir.
I hope your show tonight goes well as everything else. I hope your family and friends are looked after. So
Thank you, brother.
awesome. All right. Take care. Okay, everyone. So that was Abe, and we will be having him on again soon. So please keep an eye out for that. We will have more guests on as the weeks go on. So we've been doing this every Wednesday with interviews, but it might be different days depending on availability of some people. But other than that, I'm going to end this stream. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to the next one and seeing you all again. So until the next one, class dismissed.